Hello, this is Taha.
This is Anaina,
This is Movie Masala.
and we're here to yap at you about films we watched recently.
And today we're doing
Spider-Man Brand New Day.
directed by Destin Daniel Cretton.
Put your whimpering. Suit yourself. Mother.
Go home!
And sometimes Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart. What is happening to me?
This is Spider-Man Brand New Day, brought to you by Samsung Flip Phones, Takis Chips, and Budweiser Beer.
And BMW.
BMW. Weird way to start off this review. But immediately as I started this film, I was like, why is this so heavy on the product integration?
Yeah, I think for sure, when the movie started, I was really hesitant because first of all, I haven't seen an MCU film recently that I've enjoyed or even really liked that much. There have been films that I've been like, okay, this wasn't too bad. This was okay. So I was kind of like, oh, fine, I guess. I'm going because this is new and it's here, and I like Spider-Man as a character in general. And then it started with fucking flip phone and all of these product placements, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Why am I watching an ad?
Exactly.
But once it gets all the product placements out of the way, pretty damn good.
This is pretty damn good. You know how you said it's been a while since I've seen a good MCU film? For me, I was like, the whole dynamic has changed so substantially that when that opening MCU banner thing comes up, I was like, oh yeah, this also happened. I forgot such a big thing that they do. It was like, oh yeah, they do that opening banner thingy. I forgot about that.
Yeah. The banner started rolling up and I was like, oh yeah, but this used to be something that used to get me excited.
Yes. This is such a tangent, but I think the banner does a lot. Because it really does set the stage. And now how they use it especially, it really does make you feel like, oh, this is a specific MCU movie, you know?
Yeah, definitely. For this one, if you notice, the banner coming up, Peter Parker slowly fades out of each shot that is introduced in the banner.
Such a good, yeah.
It does such a quick recap of this particular Spider-Man series, which I think is really clever.
Yeah. Now to talk about the actual movie, 3 minutes into this. Like you said, this is actually good. And I think my very succinct thing is, for the first half, this is honestly one of the best live action Spider-Man films I've seen. Full stop. The first half is genuinely that good. For the second half, it's also pretty good. It's good. It's just not what the first half did. But overall together, it adds up to probably the best film in this Spider-Man series.
My response to that is, it's an amazing film in the first half, and then the second half it realizes it's an MCU film.
Yeah, that is even more accurate.
It exists in the first half, it exists as a film that's part of the Spider-Man universe, that's trying to tell Spider-Man's story and his development, and which is what lends itself to such a good response. And then in the second half, I was like, oh wait, shit, but we kind of need to show that he's part of this MCU world, add all this MCU shit. So to me, that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah, I get what you mean. So I think very basic plot summary is, after the events of No Way Home, everyone has forgotten Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he's kind of living this isolated life where he's just basically being Spider-Man full time. And we kind of skip to 4 years later in a very quick
montage sequence
where he's catching villains, and you're also recreating very classic comic book covers, which I really enjoyed. From Spider-Man, you jump to kind of 4 years later with Ned's stories, also adding a background level, which I thought was really good. Also adding a lot of duo character, in the sense of Spider-Maning and doing very well with that, but Peter Parker just not existing to a certain degree.
And when we do see Peter Parker or even Spider-Man, we just see a really sad and depressed guy because of this isolation.
And I think this was the sentiment when the trailers were coming out as well. And I fully vibe with the sentiment, which is, the more depressed you make my Spider-Man, the better the story gets.
And it's true.
Yeah. Starting with the first half, I think immediately one thing that I noticed at the first half, I was also comparing to No Way Home or other MCU films or superhero films, is the whole first half felt very much like his webbings, organic.
Yeah. Definitely. It felt like a natural progression of the way a character could develop. Not should develop, but could develop, especially after everything that has happened to it in this particular instance. Spider-Man needed to crash and burn. Peter Parker needed to kind of see the consequences of what has happened and stuff like that. But then, the kind of build up again to this kind of character. Peter Parker has now been Spider-Man in this particular universe for at least 4 years. He's been this new Spider-Man for 4 years, but he's been Spider-Man for much longer before that. At least 4 years, right? And so I was hoping that, we would finally see some, for lack of a better word, swagger to Spider-Man. And we do see him confident. We do see him having grown into this personality, having grown into this character as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing I felt when I say organic is I felt when I was watching No Way Home, and this became a criticism of No Way Home as well, but it felt the entirety of the first act of No Way Home was constructed to get to the other parts.
Yes.
Right? It felt like first act didn't really make much sense, but only acted as a way to set up the other part. Here, it is fully, I feel, not the case. Everything feels like it is flowing very much directly from where the story is going. And I, on the other hand, was like, you have a lot of characters to introduce and a lot of other things to do. How are you going to do them? Don't get me wrong. I'd rather you just not do them at all, because this is what you're doing. Just stick to this. I don't care who the main villain is or whatever. This is much more fun. Like, I'm enjoying this as just a character story in itself.
Definitely. It felt like a comic book.
Yeah.
In that sense, it did not feel like a MCU film that has certain points to hit and has certain characters to this and that. So it felt very much like a comic book that had time to explore this character and kind of develop this world and the small characters in this world, but also with a good focus on its main character.
Exactly. And I think when you get to that second half, and again, just minor spoilers, with Sadie Singh's character, I enjoyed it. It was just, like you said, it becomes more MCU-y. For me, that felt more of we're going to go back to a villain taking over things, just a superhero defeat the villain, kind of all of that dynamic. And I still think, because of the art direction and everything, that is done well and everything. But the story, for me, with the antagonist and Spider-Man's, their story just doesn't connect as well for me. So it kind of loses such a good emotional beat that was running. And it just feels like, in the best possible way, everything doesn't connect together at the end and gives you that really good payoff.
Definitely. The way the film ends, it gives you a payoff for Spider-Man, but not for the story, the protagonist story that was happening. So with the antagonist, kind of it still has some of the heart of Peter Parker kind of involved in it, where, he shows compassion and he's just a kid, just a guy, just a young guy who's just a genuinely nice person, etc., etc. And so, you see that part of his character in approaching the antagonist. But the story itself is fine, I guess. Like you said, mild spoilers. I don't think there was anything that I was genuinely shocked by. Every single beat, minutes before it happened, be like, oh, this is what's going to happen, especially in that second half. That first half, like you said, because it felt like it had such a good flow, it was you're kind of part of it and you're kind of just going along with it. But in the second
you're
part,
swinging with
exactly, you're swinging with him. And at one point, you really are swinging with him.
Yes. And I think this is what makes the first half that good. And I think that's the point. I think with the first half, it is also not necessarily the story that's unique and that's keeping me on my toes in any way. It is just purely visually, the lighting, the art direction, the choreography and things like that, and the music. I think it all comes together to make this feel like, oh, this has a genuine like sense of direction, or like this has a genuine visual story in a way that it's trying to tell. It's an aesthetic and a vibe.
Definitely. And I've never said this about a single Marvel film, I don't think. But the cinematography was damn good in this film. It's done by Brett Pollack, who's a frequent collaborator with Destin Daniel Cretton. And I think that kind of partnership between the two of them is very, very visible, where the vision of the direction is met like equally well with what we're looking at. So stuff like the swinging with Spider-Man, like the perspective shot of the camera swinging with
the first
Spider-Man.
person, yes.
The first person, yes. Even the shot that we were also excited to see in the trailer, like inside the mask. When the first inside the mask shot came, I was like, and then went, I was like, oh, was that it? But then it keeps coming back. We keep seeing that in different ways. We see through Spider-Man's lenses into his eyes. We see his eyes, spoiler, changing, going from the human ones to like the fully arachnoid ones. You can see all of those very like small details for this character changes happening. And it feels way more human. You feel like you're connected with this character a lot more because of these small like choices and details.
Definitely. Like genuinely, my only criticism of the cinematography is I feel they don't stay on those incredible shots longer.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's on the editing.
Yes. Like I genuinely wish for so many of those sequences, like with the eye one, take your time. With this first person swinging, take your time. You're doing really well. I believe in this. Like just keep going with this. When those were happening, I was like, I really hope what they're doing right now, they do again. Like this is like a testing ground to showcase web swinging like this. Let's keep going. And when they do this again, they're just perfected and they give you those incredible shots, heighten it even further, because like I genuinely felt that was one of the best web swingings that there was. Like it did get a bit CGI very few times, but the momentum was so much there.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. I think that was one of the scenes. The thing is when the first person perspective swinging happens, where I was fully like, yes, okay, I am really enjoying this. I'm getting really into this. And that's kind of the point, right? Of like a film that's especially like 4 parts in it has to continue drawing an audience in.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's difficult to do that. So, which is why I was like getting more and more impressed in that first half.
Yeah. And also you have scenes where Peter, his powers are going off and things like that. I think those are also done so well when he can just kind of in some ways hear the whole city.
Yes.
And the flashing and everything. And I was like, oh, okay, you kind of know what you're doing. This doesn't feel generic at all. This feels creative and unique. I am so fucking with it. And the scene where like he sees MJ's with someone else and just the whole depression swinging and the music and everything, the score, it was brilliant. I was like, yes.
Oh, absolutely. I think when he goes out into the onto the terrace for the first time, when he's kind of had these enhanced powers, and the sound, not the score, but the sound of everything that is overstimulating him, that all of his senses are becoming like really heightened. Like the simple like paper bag blowing across this thing, you feel the sense of danger that he feels. You cannot see why that noise is coming, but that noise is a threat, like it's a threat to Spider-Man because of the intensity which he is hearing it. So I think the sound does such a beautiful job of like in those moments like conveying emotion and conveying exactly what this character is going through. And then with like the score, the moment Tame Impala came on when he's like following Ned through the city,
yes,
I was like, okay, this is really kind of cool. This is really cool.
Firstly, the score from Michael Giacchino is great. I think it does a lot. There was one specific scene with MJ and Peter in a ship, and it was just bass notes, I guess.
Yes.
Because I could feel the theater rumbling in certain parts, but there was not really music to it. But I was like, keep doing this. This is great.
Yeah, it was pure silence. And but it's not entirely quiet because you can hear them talking, and in the back you can just hear it's like the ambient noise. It's probably the noise from the ship that they're on, from the barge that they're on. It's industrial noise probably, but it lends itself so well to that particular scene where, like you said, it feels like rumbling, it feels like tension building.
Yeah. And when you mentioned like the Tame Impala thing as well, I was like, I hope this doesn't become random. But no, it makes perfect sense because of the house party scene and everything, and it goes away when it needs to. And also, like, you got like a popular song, but you use it like, yeah, it's fine. We don't need to really make this the star of the scene in any way whatsoever. It's here because they're at a house party. These are young people. Of course, they're playing today's music. And I was like, perfect.
Exactly.
No, it's a good job.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think like all of the elements of the film, like the art direction that you were talking about, the visual style, the music, they like work perfectly well. And I think the costume for me was really a standout.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he feels like he's in the costume. He very much does. Every single scene, he feels like he's in the costume. I love the wrinkles. It feels homemade. It feels like his costume now, not Iron Man's costume made for him. It's great. I love the costume. Like the air on him when he's swinging. Just again, fantastic. I remember this very, very specifically, so vividly, that when No Way Home came out, and in the very final scene where he is in this new costume and he's swinging, when I first saw that film, it was kind of just like, I was just watching it and in a way to like, I want to burn this into my head so I can keep like thinking about this. And I watched it again the second time to be like, I just want to burn it again. And that scene genuinely, I remember when we talked about like, or like anticipated film, like this would make Spider-Man like one of my most anticipated superhero movies for this year, which was because of the end. I was like, that costume was great. I want to see that properly done. And I'm so fucking happy that they really nailed it.
Definitely. Apart from like signaling him as like an autonomous character, it feels like the way a costume should be. It feels like the way a Spider-Man costume should be. It feels like one of those like Spider-Man costumes you put on for like
cosplay
or something.
Yeah.
For cosplay, yeah. Where, you know, it moves, it breathes, it has flaws, it needs to be fixed every time it's used. Peter Parker still gets like cuts and bruises from wearing the costume, and it presents this perfect barrier between Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Yes, it adds to the storytelling again.
Exactly. Yeah. So like I'm saying, all of these elements work so well for this storytelling that aside from the plot and aside from the actual progression, all of these elements, I think, are what make this film so good.
Yes. And I can't believe I forgot this about the plot, but I like the film's kind of main message being like, Spider-Man learns to be a cab.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like when that part of the plot comes in, I was like, ooh, A-Cab Spider-Man. I kind of like this.
Which is what Hobie Brown Spider-Punk already was.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically because it just becomes, again, this is hard to kind of go on without like big spoilers. Firstly, we already did not like the Department of Damage Control in multiple MCU films and like TV series. They've been the bad guys. Like they've been like government overreach very much so. So I was like, they are the bad guys, right? Like that, I'm not fooled by any of them.
Yeah. I'm not like, I don't trust the damage control department, or I don't trust the cops or anything. Like,
yeah, exactly. But I like the little subtle thing of like, they will use you until they like have use for you, and then when you try and hold them to power, they will be against you as soon. They're not your friends. It was very much became the part. It's like, these people are not your friends. You don't talk to them. You don't say anything. You don't share anything.
Exactly. And it's basically about accountability, right? It's like Spider-Man held himself accountable.
With great power comes great responsibility.
And that's not being upheld by these people. So they've got to go. And I think it feels like such a natural conclusion for Spider-Man to come to, for the character to come to. So it was fantastic to see him come to a very A-Cab conclusion and solution.
Yeah. I really liked it. And also like the genuine thing of like, they will use like in some ways, I don't know if this is the best way to phrase this because both of these characters are white, but like they're using minorities against each other in some way in the superpowers.
It's an allegory. It's an allegory of like like having those superpowers is like a minority position. Yeah.
I think that also really works well with the character. And again, just learning great power comes great responsibility, which I think again is just tied into this film. It's like he took that to the max, and him learning that he doesn't need to, or like his interpretation of that also feels like change through this and through again the not wanting to be isolated and things like that as well, which I think again ties into the plot really well.
Definitely. But yeah, was not expecting A-Cab Spider-Man to show up, but you know what? That's hot.
Yes. Yes. Also, like one thing I do want to add more when we talk about the plot and the MCU area, I do think one thing I really like is the MCU-ness of this. I personally also feel it does a good MCU like integration in some ways, where I do think the issue is it's hitting those familiar beats, but I don't think the issue is necessarily the characters involved in the larger universe.
Agreed.
Right. And we'll come to the acting of all of them in a second. But I enjoyed John Bernthal being here. Also, like, I feel sad that Spider-Man's the only one who keeps interacting with all of the Netflix series MCU characters. No one else, really. Um, I mean, Hawkeye did as well, I guess. But anyways, you have John Bernthal, you have the Punisher, you have the Hulk, you even have, spoilers, Black Widow, Yelena's Black Widow coming in. Am I forgetting anyone?
No.
No,
And then
yeah.
you have some of the villains like Scorpion and etc.
Yeah, and then you have like, yeah. So you have all of these characters, Spider-Man interacting with films, but all of that feels A, perfectly fine because A, they never overtake the film in any way. This is still Spider-Man's film. And B, this feels better because the MCU criticism, the world feels very unactive in a way. If these characters exist in this world, A, Spider-Man should just go talk to them because why wouldn't you? If you have a problem with like mutations, why wouldn't you just go to the person who's like a raging Hulk monster and wants to keep like that at bay?
Exactly. Yeah.
If you can't talk to the Avengers for like help, why wouldn't you go to the Avengers for help? It makes a lot of sense for him to keep doing that. So I'm glad that keeps happening. And you don't have to cut a big check to Robert Downey Jr. every time you want to make that happen.
No, it definitely is like he doesn't have to rely on flashbacks of his like mentor moments with Robert Downey Jr. when he's trying to get some help. They're like showing that there's an active progression of how this of world is moving. Yeah. And the dynamics are changing.
Yeah. And also like he stops petty crime and shit. Like there's constantly calls of like, hey, robbery happening. Hey, this happening. Yeah, that is what the world should be like. He should be the only superhero because we know that he isn't. And B, the world should be active even without Spider-Man in it. So I think that was really well done as well.
And like speaking of the characters, I think like three particular dynamics I thought were fantastic. Of course, Spider-Man and the Punisher.
Absolutely.
I just think they have the perfect like little brother, older brother dynamic. And like you're saying, like, of course they would interact because they're the two New York vigilantes. Like, why wouldn't they interact? Why wouldn't they, not help each other out, but at least know of each other and kind of like, have this sort of relationship or this dynamic.
Yeah, I really like this was like a review comment, something which was like they feel like two colleagues with like that age difference between them, and I also really vibe with that. I think that's also really true. Also very small again on the MCU integration. There's a few scenes where you can see like a Mayor Fisk poster on like a street because it ties into Daredevil and Wilson Fisk running for mayor and everything, and that's why also makes sense Daredevil's maybe not there. And I was like, again, great integration. Just feels like everything makes sense here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other dynamics that I really liked were with Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and MJ and Ned. So when MJ got reintroduced in this film, the whole time I was like, please don't just make her mindlessly fall in love with Peter Parker. Please don't make her have this like sense that, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, or like have her like kind of just intuitively know or whatever. So like, I was like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And then she does it. She kind of establishes herself in her own right. And, spoiler alert, but there is no romantic connection once again between Peter Parker and MJ, which I think is really useful because she's always been developed as this like character who's quirky and very independent or whatever. So it would make absolutely no sense for her to be reduced to this damsel in distress. So I'm really glad that she isn't.
And I'm also really glad for the story that there's no MJ substitute either.
Yes.
They don't go to like Spider-Man has to have a love interest to get over any of this, which I think is, great.
Exactly. And then I think it's just Peter Parker and Ned's relationship that is just so cute. They are best friends, and that relationship is also really important. And I think, again, spoiler alert, so many spoilers, but ending on that relationship, ending the film on that relationship between Peter Parker and Ned, I think is just so, it's just so cute and endearing because it kind of goes to show that, he's not like disturbingly obsessed with MJ or kind of rekindling that relationship. He just wants companionship. He just wants his friends back. And Ned is his best friend. Ned was in his life way before MJ was as a romantic prospect. So, or even as a friend. So I definitely think that it does a really good job of keeping those characters of like from his previous life true to themselves, but also having like evolved into this new dynamic.
Yeah, I think that again comes back to the plot, I think those are all really good. And I also think so much of that is really carried by Tom Holland as well. Like, I think it's just genuinely his best Spider-Man performance he's done across all of this series. Really, very much so. I think he also did a really good job in No Way Home. But I think he really learned a lot from the Odyssey. Like, he's talked about that. And really brought it to the role. And he feels like Spider-Man. We've seen him like for 10 years now, just as a child grow into this role. So he really does feel the character in so many ways, even though this does also feel like the least Peter Parkery of the Spider-Man, but again, in a way that connects with the story because he is not as quippy and everything certain times, but he gets back into this as the film progresses.
Oh, definitely. I think it's a lot of things that kind of help this performance, but it definitely does help that this character finally feels something different than the kind of the first three films. And obviously there's a lot of like character development that happens across those three films. But in this one, it feels like he gets to do something different with this character that he already knows. And you can genuinely see that he's also having like this good / emotional time as he's kind of growing, as he's kind of like showing this character in its like final stages.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was really good. I think John Bernthal's performance, as always, was John Bernthal really good. He just is the Punisher. He's just really good at that. I do think they soften his character a bit for this film, like when you comparing to like when he's in Daredevil or his own series. But I don't think it's like a character change. It's just like certain dynamics being a bit like played with. I think Zendaya gets a lot to do. Like Zendaya is also able to shine, and again, like you said, isn't one note. Jacob Batalon as Ned is good, great. Like again, he doesn't have that much to do, to be very honest. And I think Sadie Sink as well. I think where she is given good character moments, she does really work with them really well. So I think overall, like the acting throughout this film feels very much well done and like really works for the film. But as again, Tahan really carries the film with his performance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's like the acting, I don't think any of them are acting in this film from like a superhero film perspective. That's not what it felt like.
Yeah, it feels like they're giving
acting
performances for the characters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're giving performances for the characters, which I think really kind of upped the game. Like it just took it to another level, I think, or overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Like at the end of this, like I was genuinely like, oh, I want to see another one of this. Like, please, this is really good. You did a really solid job. And I know the audiences will feel the same because already like the first day tracking for this is like, oh, this is like breaking records just on like its opening day. And keep in mind for me, like I could have watched this film on Wednesday or Thursday because there was like early previews on both days. So you're removing people who went to watch for like 8 showings already. And still you're getting like so many people turning up. And I'm honestly like, I need to take like my brother and stuff and we're gonna go watch this again probably. I genuinely am like, this is gonna do numbers. And also, Anaina, when I walk into a cinema and I see almost a full cinema, I get so happy. Movies are back.
Same, 100% with the drama. This year has been really fucking good for people going to the cinema. The drama sold out screenings. The Odyssey sold out screenings. Devil Wears Prada sold out screenings. Like the Spider-Man sold out screenings. Dune is coming up. Probably going to be the same. Avengers Doomsday is coming up. Probably going to be the same. And these are all blockbusters.
Obsession.
Yes.
Are we forgetting Obsession? A very small film that like blew up.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I was getting to. I was like, not just blockbusters, but also like independent productions like Obsession. And I agree. Going to the cinema is coming back.
I really hope so. Because like you will always have blockbusters that like give you the big numbers, but it develops this habit of people going in and watching 10 new films, like you said, again, Obsession, Backrooms, The Trauma, smaller films, which also like really shine. And it has been such a year for Zendaya.
Oh my god, and she's not done yet.
She is not done yet. Oh my god. I think she is probably going to be like the highest box office performing films by the end of the year kind of thing. Yeah. And honestly, fair enough to her. Like it's been, but also like that said, like aside from the drama, I really wish there were other films where she was like doing more. Like I kind
The
of want
lead.
a Zendaya lead more film. I think that would be better.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. It's like, it's not that she isn't great in what she has done in the films that she has been in. It's just, because she's great, I want to see so much more.
Exactly. So yeah, those were our thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. This podcast is produced solely by us with musical assets from Pixabay. If you enjoyed this, please do share it. See you again next time.
Bye bye.